That's a good omen, right? Tracy is here. Baby boy looks just like Daddy. Yes.
He does?
Exactly, I think. You don't agree?
Lucky guy.
Yeah, lucky. Good looking guy. He does look a lot like your baby pictures, too. So.
That's true.
And let's see, who else is here? I gotta skip past this ad. Let's see, Lois. Welcome, Lois from Ohio. And Homestead Nana is here. Welcome. Thank you for joining us tonight. We're going to just kind of catch you up. We know we missed you all last week. There was just too much going on, and it was Sam's little break from school, and so we were trying to do as much as possible with the kids, just trying to make some family memories.
It's true.
So now we are back at it, though. Back tonight. Glad to be here. Welcome, Silver Moon. Thanks for joining us.
Hello.
So do you want to, you started term 2. You want to tell them what's up?
Grandma and Grandpa Dan are here.
And Pam.
Pam.
I hope my chat works this time. We see you.
You said give them an update on school?
Yeah, what you started second term? Well, is it called a term? What do they call it?
Yeah, it's a term. It's not a whole semester. So this is an 8-week term. So we're getting ready to start week 2. No, it's not storming here. It did rain earlier today, and it is kind of dark outside. We did have storms. Was it yesterday or the day before? Both, I think, actually.
Yeah. It's rained like several times this week, which has been really nice because it was a really dry summer.
So we do terms. We don't truly do semesters. So this is an 8-week term, and then I have one more 8-week term that they squeeze in before Christmas. This term is not as intense as far as going to school. It's very writing intensive, and instead I just go to school twice for one class a week, and then everything else is either online or I have to like go somewhere and do something on my own. So this term is very like you gotta get your stuff done by yourself. I can't remember the term for it, what they call it, I forget. But I'm taking public or community health, our psych class, and then a research class. So all of those have a lot of writing. I mean, I have to basically write something every single day. You know, granted, it's not a lot, but there's still like a lot of research and providing sources and such that we have to do. But it's interesting, and I like it so far. Like tomorrow, I'm going to our county health department, and I have to interview one of the nurses there for my public health class. So I'm kind of looking forward to that. I also, for my, I can't remember if it's for psych. I think it's for public health as well. I need to go to two support group meetings and write reports after those. So like your alcoholic anonymous,
the
AAs and the NAs. Go to a couple of those meetings, write reports. We do have to go to a community hospital at one point, and we just spend a day there for clinical. We do the same thing for psych. We're gonna go to the psych floor of a hospital for a day. So I'm enjoying it. It still is really intense though. You got to stay on top of it. If you don't like get all your stuff done, you will get behind so fast. There's just, I told Laura, it feels like a lot of little busy work. It's not like one big thing that's just completely overwhelming. It's just a ton of little busy work that you got to stay on top of.
You're doing a really good job kind of staying ahead a little bit. I'm
trying to. I have a test in the morning that I'm a little bit nervous for psych, because it's our first test that we've had there, so the teacher has told us, like we have, certain chapters we're studying, she said, and don't get like too much, like don't get too deep in the weeds, like it's not going to be that technical, this test, but you never know until you actually take that first test from the teacher as to what that truly means. Because I asked her, I was like, so what would you do to study for this test? She was like, well, I just wouldn't really go into detail, like know some of the main concepts.
Heard that before from other people.
Yeah. So anyway, I am a little nervous about tomorrow, but I feel like once I get this first test under my belt, I'll be able to continue to focus on everything else. I will say, through this whole process, I'm getting a little bit faster at reading and writing. I'm still really, really slow, but at the beginning of even doing my prereqs and stuff, I was painfully slow at reading and writing. So I'm getting a little bit better.
Let's see. Karen says, hello from Massachusetts, 50 miles west of Boston. Fun story. My grandma and grandpa, right? They were born just outside of Boston. We had family that lived there. We would go visit outside of Boston every year, and they all had the thickest Boston accents, and it still makes me smile thinking of them. And they would always park the car. And
some of our kids sound like they have a Boston accent.
Things
sometimes.
like that. And I also remember my great aunt, who we always visited outside of Boston, she loved to collect old cuckoo clocks. So when you would visit her house, she had like 100 old cuckoo clocks, but they weren't quite timed correctly, and so it literally was like a cuckoo every 5 minutes. And I remember like you couldn't sleep at her house because there was always a clock going off.
Let's see. Allison says hello from Virginia, and Beth says hello.
Charlie and Judy are here.
Yep.
So Judy is the mastermind of the sweet pickles recipe. So
yes,
that's who we stole it from. So if you make those hot and sweet pickles, we posted earlier, the best pickles in the world.
Those pickles on everything.
You can thank Judy for those.
Beth says hello from Wichita. Okay.
And Silverman says you can do it. You can do it.
Thank you, everyone.
And Karen says yes, we do talk like that. I'm trying to think the other, like the coffee.
Coffee.
All the things. Beth says, that makes me smile. Grandpa was raised in New Hampshire and always had a strong accent. It is funny, just regional accents. It's just fun. It's interesting how we can all speak the same language and sound so different. So.
I didn't realize I had a California accent until I traveled to other states. I will say, I don't feel like Missouri people have much of an accent. Some people do, like, I feel like put on a little bit of a southern accent. And maybe it's people that are from southern Missouri.
Yeah.
But I feel like we've always lived fairly close to St. Louis, and I feel like St. Louis people don't have too much of an accent.
There's certain words, or they call it Missouri, a lot of people.
But no one calls it that. It's the only people that call it
like
Missouri.
Your grandmas?
No. The only people that call it Missouri are the politicians who have been here for like 50 years, and they want to sound like they belong to Missouri, but nobody calls it that.
Pat Jules here, welcome. Thank you for joining us.
Out of all of our, I mean, maybe I've heard my grandma say it once or twice, but
your grandma says Italian too. So
out of all of our family and friends that we have here in Missouri, who have you heard call it Missouri?
I think so.
Nobody.
Gary. Pastor
Maybe.
Gary always called it Missouri. So,
Anyway.
all right,
It's
Grandpa
just a
Dan is
ploy,
ready to put the
is what
singing
I
girls
think.
on stage. Yes, so our girls were having fun today. They learned there's a real old song from, I don't know, it's in black and white, so it's probably from like the 40s by the Chordettes called Lollipop. And they learned it, part of it, and they were all singing it together, like the
You should
different voices.
post it as like a
maybe
short.
I'll post it after this. They were having so much fun. It was cute.
It was cute.
It has little sound effects.
We should
and
try
stuff.
and teach them part harmonies.
Yeah, we should.
I don't know if they could do it, but
they might be able to.
maybe.
So
It was really cute.
They enjoy singing though. So. Oh, Pam says it's pronounced misery. Sometimes, especially
That's
in
true.
July.
Yep.
So, or in February. Man, I'll tell you what, every winter we have the same discussion, and I don't know why we haven't learned yet. We look out at the wood pile in December or early
That's
January, and we're
true.
like, man, we really haven't been burning the wood. It's been a
I
warm
know.
winter. And then every time we get to February, we blow through half the wood pile in February because it's 2 degrees out. We're like, oh yeah, we always forgot. It's never really that cold in December.
It's like the same thing here in the summer, like before we had AC, we've got it running behind us. We'd always be like, it's really not that bad in the summer. And then it's the same thing in February. You hit 2 or 3 weeks in the summer and 2 or 3 weeks in the winter where it is either extremely cold or extremely hot. And
it's just miserable on both ends.
Just about miserable. You can make it through most of the summer in Missouri with just a fan, and you'll probably do okay. Especially like if you open your windows at night, like you'll probably do okay. There's going to be a couple weeks where it does not matter, and it will.
Yeah. Well, and it's like
toasty.
never windy in the summer, which like you can't get the air to move.
Yeah,
I feel
not,
like.
not where we are
Not where we are.
sometimes.
Silverman says my husband is from Missouri, not far from Sedalia.
Sedalia.
Okay, we've been there. We're into Sedalia. And welcome, Adele. And Pat Jewell says those kids have musical genes. Get busy with the singing. 2 minutes arts first. So, and Adele's
Ohio.
from Ohio. So, Yeah.
I like it when people post where they're from. It's kind of
It's fun.
That always interests me.
Seeing people from all around. So.
Yep.
So anyway, let's see what else has been going on. Well, first of all,
you finished your
I
finished
did.
your
Wanna do that?
kitchen
The house
reno.
Now that I've finished my kitchen reno, I have big plans. So, see, I think we've pretty much decided that we're probably not going to stay in the old house. It's just not. There's no way to make it work, especially for Annie, but for other reasons. There are a lot of people, and the house has I can't even list all the problems. At the point where you fix the problems it has, you're basically building a new house, so you're not really saving it. And I realize that history, like people want to preserve history, and I want to preserve history, but just because it's old doesn't necessarily mean it was well built. Because honestly, the guy who built this probably ordered it from a catalog and read the instructions on the home kit, right? Because we're pretty sure this was a home kit. Because there's multiple ones of this house.
Yeah, we're fairly sure it was a home kit. Now, it's been added on a few times, so those parts weren't part of the kit. But, I mean, I think there's a chance that he may have hired a carpenter or two to help him, put it together. But, I mean, we don't truly know. We do know he took out a loan to build the house. How much was it? Do you remember?
I think it was only like $6,000.
Yeah, it was like $6,000 or $6,500.
We figured out it was like $35,000 in today's money, or $40,000 in today's money.
Paid it off in like just a few years.
Yep.
Yeah, so he bought his kit or the materials, and then he paid it off in a couple of years and had his house. But I think we are probably leaning that way towards doing something new.
So,
but at the same time, that doesn't mean we can't save pieces of this house and use it.
And I was going a long way around to say that, so we've kind of redone the kitchen to make it functional, because it really wasn't functioning at all. There was like no storage. We have a lot of kids. We had to find a way to just put things away. And I feel like we're pretty good about limiting the amount of stuff in our house, but at some point you need enough plates and things and cups and things for your large family. Right. So we did a lot of work on the kitchen. Now I'm kind of looking into the living room. I have some really neat ideas about how to get the living room organized without adding furniture, because right now space is a premium and furniture takes up a lot of space, right? And we want to feel comfortable when we're sitting all together.
Tizzy asks, is your wood your only source of heat, or do you supplement with something else? My stove just isn't keeping up. So we have supplemented with some kerosene in the past, but we don't do that anymore. That was kind of we had no other options, sort of a thing. But anyway, I wouldn't suggest kerosene necessarily. We do use like space heaters
when it gets really cold.
When it gets really cold, we have ones in the girls' room that are like child safe, and if they get knocked over, they shut off. And then we basically will turn them on in the bedrooms when it's time to go to sleep.
Warm the rooms up.
But otherwise, we use the wood stove.
And it's really only when it gets really cold. Now that we've learned the tricks of the wood stove and how to get it hot enough and keep it hot, it takes a couple of days. So you don't want to wait for it to suddenly be really cold to start using your wood stove. You got to build the heat up in your house. It's not like, I lit my wood stove and 4 hours later my house is warm. Like, the air has to travel everywhere. And we've noticed after about day 2 of running it constantly, it's gone upstairs and the house is generally just warm.
That's true.
And it's fine, but once we get to about 20 degrees or lower, then the wood stove cannot keep up in certain areas of the house. And so that's when we need supplemental heat.
Yeah, if we go a few days without having, like, say we're gone or there's an emergency, we have to be away, and you come home to a wood stove that's completely cold, like Laura says, it literally, for us anyway, probably because the house is big and drafty, it does take a couple of days to actually kind of catch up. But like she said, for the most part, like the girls' rooms are upstairs. The upstairs stays pretty warm.
Yeah, because warm air rises. So once it pushes far enough in the house where it's like by the staircase and stuff, it really goes up there. And it almost gets hot up there sometimes. But we had to learn what we were doing first. Because the first year, we absolutely froze our butts off all winter. Yeah. And we could not figure out why we couldn't get the stove hot enough. And there was a whole bunch of problems. Like
We had bad
We had
wood.
bad wood.
We didn't know how to
weren't-
start fires. And
Yeah, and we
things
weren't
like that.
keeping it going at night, and so it would die down, and then it would get really cold in the house, and so we weren't hitting that 2-day mark where the house is warm. So we talk about when we build, we really like having the wood stove heat. It's really nice to have heat that basically doesn't cost you anything, and so if you're in a pinch, you know, you don't have to worry about how am I going to afford propane or you know, if electricity is really expensive, and we like that ability. But like Sam said, you know, especially with having kids that need things, like sometimes you need to be away for a day, and if you only have wood stove as a heat, you really can't do that in winter. Your house is going to get too cold, or your pipes are
Some
going to
people
freeze.
might be able to, depending
really
on
good
your
one?
stove. But we would like, I think in the future, we would like to have a main heat source that we can use. We'd have the wood stove for when we can use it and when it's working for like our lifestyle for that particular time. But I don't want to have to completely be reliant on a wood stove. Carrie says she's late and has to go pick up her son. All right, thanks for hopping on.
So Pam says, I understand, hard to heat, hard to cool, and hard to get a turn at the bathroom.
Yes.
Sam's goal in life here is to have a bathroom where nobody bothers him.
Yeah, I will feel like I've made it in life when I have my own bathroom, because someone is always knocking out the door. Also, my favorite part about our bathroom, since we're speaking about winter, our bathroom does not get warm much at all.
Because it's like a closed-in closet, and so...
and the outside walls around it, it has a couple of outside walls, and it does not get, they're not insulated very well, I don't think, and such. And so my nickname for our toilet in the winter is the motivator, because that thing is cold.
It's really cold.
Every once in a while, when I want to treat myself, I will take one of our portable space heaters, and maybe like 10 minutes before I'm going to use the restroom, I'll place it right in front of the toilet.
You like warm the whole seat up.
It gets the toilet nice and toasty.
You know, these are the things about the homestead life, the ugly things we don't talk about. But it's hard to get the heat into the bathroom just where the bathroom is in the house, and it's so small and there's no draft that way, so it is pretty cold in there.
Let's see. Silverman says, I wish I had a wood stove. We have central heat, but I'd rather heat with wood. We have a regular fireplace, but that doesn't heat more than just, the one room it is. Right. And then Holly says, I've never had one, but I know a lot of people have outside wood furnaces that also heat their water. Yes. We have friends that have those, and I've done a lot of research into them. They have a lot of benefits. One of the main benefits that I would really like is it keeps all of that wood mess outside of your house. You're not bringing it in. It does heat your water too, which is awesome. But the one downfall to those is that they go through a lot of wood every year. Usually, from what I've read, people will go through at least like between 10 and 15 cords of wood a year, and we're usually around the 3 cords of wood mark. But I don't know, 10 to 15 cords of wood.
It's an incredible amount of wood.
That's a lot of work to get that much wood. But they're getting more and more efficient though too. So maybe in the future it might be something we would do, because those are really nice. We've got friends that have them and they love it. So
welcome, Tracy. Thanks for joining us. And Holly says we had a heater in our outhouse.
On a switch.
A switch that we would turn on when we're going outside.
Yes, exactly.
It's still a cold walk though, even if it's going to be heated to get there.
Let's see. The family farmhouse had a furnace that used wood and had a backup propane burner. It could hold a 5-foot log, 24 inches in diameter.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, some of those, like Holly was saying, some of those outdoor burners can hold huge logs like that. So they'll burn for forever. But maybe that's one thing we've thought about. But I do want to think, I'm not old by any means, but I do want to think about in the future how much work some of that stuff's going to be, like physically and on your body, to be doing that every single year. But anyway.
And so, we already read that one. Yeah, so.
Oh, did we say hi to Tracy?
Yes, we did.
Okay.
We got that. So.
I was yakking.
So another good news. Oh, Tracy says, I'm finally getting over my fear of my pressure canner. I've been canning a lot. Awesome.
Nice.
It's really that first step. It's like a little kid riding a bicycle. Like, they're so scared for that first time you're going to let go. And then once they do it, they're like, oh, I understand why it's not scary now. I love canning
I'm
so
gonna
much.
let the dog out.
She's pacing.
Yeah.
Canning, like, I know I harp on it all the time,
Goes
but
outside?
even if you don't grow anything, canning is such an important skill to have. It could save you so much money once you've made that initial investment with the jars. I know the jars are a little bit pricey, but you can find them at like yard sales, and people have them, they don't want them. But because you can grab things when they're on sale, you know, like, and then can them and have 50 jars of potatoes on the shelf, and you know, you just have a lot of food. It's shelf stable. You don't have to worry about what if my power goes out and my freezer stops working. Like, it's awesome, and it can really be there for you during harder times. So I think canning is so cool, and I wish everybody, you know, could experience that, even if
Yeah, I would say I'm back to thinking about the wood stove because probably in maybe more than maybe about a month. Month and a half, we'll start cranking it up, and so I always do some maintenance on it. The first thing, like scrub it out really good.
it's like your least
clean
favorite chore, isn't it?
It is my least favorite chore.
Sam doesn't like heights. You got to get up there.
Now a lot of people, you can clean it out from the inside, and I could clean out most of the stove here from the inside, but I like to get on top too and clean out the cap and everything. Make sure it's I don't know. I like to look at it from the bottom and the top usually. I'll scrub from the bottom and the top, make sure everything's good to go for.
One time, here's a funny story. So we have a bird net thingy on top of the wood stove so birds can't get in there in summer. But before we knew we needed that, we didn't have one, and a bird got into the wood stove when we weren't using it. And it was a hilarious attempt to get the bird out of the stove, and we wanted to get it out. There's a door right here, so it's not that far from there to the door. We just wanted to, so we kind of came up with, we had like a sheet and stuff.
We covered all the windows and doors
and so that it could only fly one way. And
one spot.
We got it out, and the second it got out, one of our cats was waiting in the mudroom and grabbed it and
like the easiest, fastest snack for that cat.
And I was like, we just went through all that effort to save that stupid bird, and it became a snack. So, let's see. Tracy says, I wish I could have a wood stove. Living in an RV makes me scared and a fire hazard. Yeah, and it could be a fire hazard for anybody. You definitely have to be careful, and you have to be really diligent about cleaning and checking it and things just like anything, you know.
It's kind of like the canner. Like if you're not careful, some things can happen. But as long as you kind of like make your own, I don't know, routine sort of, like before you leave the house or when you're starting your fire and such, you know, you'll be okay. There are like when you, sorry, I just moved our phone a little bit. I was really afraid when we first started because once you get on the internet, you start reading about wood stoves. All you hear about are the horror stories and how everything, you know, there were fires everywhere. And I'm going to rotate this. This might do us dirty, but I'm going to try and rotate this just a little bit.
There we go.
There, sorry. Fires and just all kinds of bad things happening. But once you read into the details of some of those fires and stuff, it's people that like didn't get their chimney cleaned out for 15 years, and you're like, well, at that point, you're kind of asking for it.
Same thing with the canner. Like people never, or they're trying to pry the lid off too soon. Like if you're not stupid, like if you make sure you follow the rules and keep things clean and don't skip your maintenance and stuff.
Or they'll be like, fine. I tried to start a fire in my wood stove. I put everything in there, kind of got it started. I left the door open and went and did chores for 3 hours. And I came back and there was fire. And you're like, well, you can't leave your stove door open that long. Like, we'll leave it open, but when we're in the house.
In the kitchen
like or something, watching it to make sure. Because it, like if you crack your wood stove door, sometimes that'll help start your fire or whatever. But anyway, it's kind of like the canner. I think if you have, you know, what is it? Dot your I's and cross your T's. Like you'll be okay.
Gary says, I would love to have a wood stove as backup to heat and cooking if power is out, but not a main source. And that's kind of what we're leaning towards. When you're home all day, it's great, and it's pretty much free, other than a little bit of sweat labor. Excuse me. But it's difficult to have as a main source if you have any reason why you can't be home every day in the winter, which is most of us, right? So it is very nostalgic, and we enjoy it. And the heat's nice too. Like sometimes duct work, like forced air heat, like, you know, things get in there.
That like stuff, in the I feel like in the winter. Sorry, I'm looking at a text. My brother says the audio cuts in and out and is being kind of fuzzy.
Yeah, let us know if our audio is sounding weird to you. We can maybe back out and restart or refresh.
You can still hear you guys and such, but it isn't constant.
Maybe turn the air conditioner off. Maybe it's messing with the... Yeah, let me know if it sounds funny to you, if our audio is being trouble, because we can try turning off the air conditioner. So, let's see. Carrie says, I would love to have we read that. Terry is here. Check every day for your videos. So thank you, Terry. I will let you know we are super consistent. Wednesday and Saturday mornings I post, and then most Mondays we try to have a live stream. But
did you read Lois there? Hello, Logan and Lexi. We used a wood stove for many years. It was good, but it had its limitations when we needed to use steam heat from our furnace. Yeah, a lot of people used to use steam heat. So Carrie said it was her earbuds. Sounds okay now. Audio is stuttering.
Okay, we'll see if the air conditioner was messing with the.
Do you think I don't know what it would be. You're not running out of battery, are you? Do you think?
Nope, not running out of battery. I'm on Wi-Fi. It sounds fine now. It was a bit glitchy. Okay. May have been our internet being...
We're not like that close to our router.
Yeah, our kids are also all on the internet too. We told them after dinner if they could do their chores really fast, we'd let them use their tablets. So we had a live stream. I have never seen dishes done that fast. I mean, they were like throwing forks trying to get them done so they could use their tablets. So.
Sounded more like a cord thing than an airflow thing.
Well, okay. Not a serious
issue.
Right. Okay,
we'll just keep doing.
If it gets really bad, let us know and we can call it a night. It might be our internet. It's also kind of bad, a little bit bad weather out too, which might affect the internet a little bit.
True.
So,
what were we talking about? We were talking about wood stoves for a little bit. Were we moving away from that?
Yeah. Yeah. Holly says it might be the weather. Been storing it for over 2 years. Yeah, it's raining on and off here, so. My garden, though, like, speaking of good things, my garden has rebounded. Like, by the end of July, I was like, we're just going to have to walk away and give it up.
Like, we might just have to mow it all down and, like, clean it up. But
it's rained, like, every other day since then. And, like, my green beans have come back from the dead. And, like, my peppers I have so many jalapenos. And my pumpkins and I have this accidental squash plant that is like the size of a car now, I swear.
Yeah, it's huge.
And so that's been a big blessing. And our sheep are like, we've never done sheep before, and we decided we're going to raise them. And I'm going to knock on wood because we're not quite there. We got about 2 months left, and like they're looking really good and healthy. And I'm excited. Try something new and to like have raised our own meat other than chickens, like raise our own meat. I'm super excited for this.
Terry says, I wish we would get some rain. The drought here is so bad. My garden is kapooey.
It is so frustrating when the weather does not cooperate. And I'm so sorry because I know how much work being a gardener and how much hope you put in your garden, and then you have like no control over what the weather does. Pam says, I was supposed to do my dishes where I watch the show. Yes, that's the rule after dinner. We go through different ways that we do chores, and somehow it always ends up turning into a way they can make it into an argument eventually with each other on what's fair. And so now the chore is, there's like Annie and JJ have to do the dishes in the morning, and Micah and Ivy have to clear the table and pick up the living room in the morning, and then at night it swaps, and the little girls pick up the living room and do the table, and the big girls do the dishes. And they are not happy about that. They do not like that chore structure, but Mommy likes that chore structure because that means I only do dishes usually twice a day, after lunch, and then kind of in the afternoon we collect some dishes instead of 4 times a day. So let's see. Terry says, I'm worried about our wells, and it's, wells are crazy because it's groundwater, and you just have no idea what's down there. You could have a well that's in this tiny little cavern, or you could have a well that's like in a monstrous cavern, and wells do run dry, and it's scary. Like we've talked about, people and therapists have said it'd be really good for Annie to have a pool to swim. Like that'd be really good for her muscles. And we're like, well, do we want to buy a pool though and fill it from the well? Like, what if that's a lot of water. Like, how much water is really down there? And so you just don't know.
Do you do pole beans? I'm just now finally getting some beans. The plants are enormous. Maybe they just produce late.
I do. I like pole beans over bush beans, and I don't really have a good reason. I just guess like that I don't have to crawl on the ground to pick them. But the plants, I mean, by the end of July, the plants were looking so like yellow, even though I was watering them, and I was like, there's just no way they're ever going to produce anything. But now they're green and they got lots of little purple flowers on them. So they do take longer to produce. So depending on when you planted them, now might be the appropriate time. But I didn't think they were even going to make it to producing beans. Like they looked so bad. So
how's school going, Sam? I just had to take my first son to college last weekend, 5 hours away. It was difficult.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that can be
it's
tough.
hard, but what an exciting, stepping
Yeah.
out for him. I hope
That
it's
is
a
good.
good experience.
School's going well. We've got just starting my second week of this term. I've got my first test in the morning, so I am anxious about that. But other than that, it's going well, and I think I like the subjects this time, this term a little bit better than the first term. I'm doing psych, community health, and then we've got to write a big research paper.
Yeah, Tammy said bad drought. I know most of the western United States are really struggling. I water in the morning or at night, and this is a great thing too. If you have a garden and you're maybe new, watering in the middle of the day when your plants look really sad is the wrong time to water, because a lot of that sun heat is going to evaporate that water. You want to water early in the morning or at night, and so that water gets sucked into the ground and not evaporated by the heat. So it sounds like you're doing the best you can for your garden.
Yeah, make the most with what you've got.
Tracy says, have your potato prices been high? I bought 50 pounds. It cost me $41. Wow, plus tax here. I about fell over. No, potato prices have, let's see, I just bought 20. We don't eat as many potatoes as we used to, but they last a long time. I think about 20 pounds of potatoes. I'm trying to think. I think it was like a $7 bag, like $7 or $8, like maybe a little bit higher, but nothing like that. Imagine though, Arizona, really hot and dry. Those potatoes are coming, especially in the middle of summer, coming from pretty far away. Might be maybe hopefully it goes down for you soon.
Yeah.
But that's why canning is really good, because at Thanksgiving time, when they try to give you super cheap potatoes so that you'll come in for their overpriced turkey, you can buy 100 pounds of potatoes and put them on your shelf, and then you don't have to worry about buying potatoes at a time when maybe there's a supply chain issue and they can't get them to you at a fair price. So.
Hello, Beverly.
Welcome. Thanks for joining us. Let's see. Carrie says, if you get a pool, you can call for a water truck instead of filling from the well. It only costs $70 to fill a 15 by 40. It took 20 minutes. And that's something we did look at. We did work. I think we're really nervous about a pool. There's too many little kids. That makes us nervous. That's one of the big reasons we haven't done it. But I think when they get a little bit older and everybody is more responsible and knows how to swim, that would be something we'll do. It would be really good for her. The weightless environment of being in a pool is really good for the issues that she has for her muscles, and it would just help her strengthen her muscles without the weight of gravity making everything more difficult. So
be good exercise for her.
Be good exercise for everybody. Be good for you. You get it done mowing and go jump in the pool.
Yep.
It's like a dream
having
come
a
true.
pool would be awesome, but maybe in the future when we don't have quite so many tiny ones crawling around and such.
Let's see. What else is going on? Our chickens and our little homestead bird patches, they look so cool.
They're a motley crew, but
they look really cool.
I like having a little bit of everything. We don't have guineas. We've tried guineas before. We got I know we've talked about this before, but we had, I think it was 4 guineas. Excuse me. We have friends that had peacocks that were killing their guineas. These peacocks would chase their guineas around and kill them. So they said, hey, do you want to take our guineas? Because they're just getting picked off one by one from our peacocks. Mm-hmm. So we took 4 guineas, and they don't like to stay at home very well unless they know it. Mm-hmm. And so we kept them in a coop for, it was maybe 8 weeks or 9 weeks. It was a long time, maybe even 10 weeks. It was a long time. Kept them in the coop for 9 or 10 weeks. And I let them out, and they all flew into the woods and never came back. That's a lie.
You were so disappointed, too, because
we had like
we
2
put so much effort into teaching them where home is.
Yeah. And we had like 2 that I was able to catch and get back. and I kept them in the coop for another like 4 or 5 weeks, and they just, as soon as I let them out, those two were gone too. So I was, a lot of times I think with guineas, it's best if you give them when they're babies. So we don't have any guineas, but we do have geese, ducks, and chickens now.
Tammy says keep hearing about potatoes too, but it's been okay, about $4 to 10 pounds. Yeah, that's about what, yeah, because I think that 20-pound bag was like $7 or $8. So waiting for my second planting to mature. So my potatoes, I need to pick them. They're still on the tires. I need to flip the tires over and get them. Maybe I'll do that tomorrow. But potatoes, if you have sandy soil or if you have a way to plant them in a raised something, I use tires, but people use feed bags, Rubbermaid tubs, anything. They're actually really simple, and it's easier to harvest them because you can like remove the sides or dump it over, and then your potatoes just roll out. Versus if you plant them in the ground, you have to do a ton of digging, and unless you have you're blessed with loamy soil, which most of us in life are not, it's just an incredible amount of muscle work. And then you get these tiny potatoes because they can't grow against the compact soil. So yeah, that's my potato advice. Same with carrots. Struggled so many years to grow carrots in the ground, and then gave up and grew them above the ground in like a little raised thing. And the carrots were huge, and they're good. So
yeah, you've been really happy with that change. You were really discouraged there for a while.
I was like, why can I not grow carrots? Like, that's the most staple plant, that people grow. They're like really pest resistant, could not grow carrots. And I just needed to stop trying to plant them in our soil because they were not happy there. It's too hard and clayey. So, but.
Or we needed to do like some major work on our soil and supplementing it and tilling it a lot deeper and stuff.
Yeah.
We don't.
Ain't nobody got time for that, right?
That sounds like breaking your back.
So what's coming up? We have to build one more pasture for the sheep and goats. Man, they have done a good job. We have the ugliest looking pasture. It's got so many random things in there that
weeds
are just
and
weeds
stuff,
and brush,
yeah.
and they really have knocked it down. And so right now we have a little more than half, I'd say, that's fenced off.
Oh,
Would you say 2/3 maybe?
I'd say 2/3.
And so I think I got to get out there with the weed eater, but I think maybe hopefully this week, especially because the ground's soft because it's been raining, I'm going to go ahead and build one more paddock for them to mow down. And then I think this is probably going to be the best our pasture has looked in the 7 years we've owned the place. It looks like somebody cares. So let's see.
I planted mine in the old plastic tub from our old washer, drainage built
that's
in.
A great
That's
idea.
a really good idea. Repurposing something.
Silver Moon says, yeah, go ahead.
Oh, if you want a semi-mobile garden bed, I suggest kiddie pools. Good for growing
That's a great idea.
shallow growing plants. That is a good idea.
PR6 Gaming wants to know when is Sam going to bring back his beard.
I don't know. I thought about
tried.
it. It has too much white in it now. It makes me look like I'm 50 instead of mid-30s.
It's all those girls you have.
I'm too vain is the problem. So
it was pretty gray.
We keep the mustache for right now because it's that brownishy red, but I'm sure it'll turn white soon.
Need some
the white is
men.
like the white is creeping in. It's getting closer and closer and closer when I grow out the beard.
Isn't the salt and pepper isn't that handsome though? It's like a distinguished.
Yeah, but mine isn't like nicely dispersed throughout. It's like weird.
Patchy.
Yeah, it's like patchy white. It's kind of
like what kind of skin disease does he have? Patchy white.
Yeah. Oh well.
Alice said, I hope you get a ton of beans. It's so satisfying. It is. It is really satisfying to be like, I grew that and I did that.
Mm-hmm.
So
it's called distinguished looking.
Exactly.
All right, if you say so.
I'm sure if he could grow it, he'd be gray around the temples, but we'll never know.
Yeah. Some of those things like beans too are fun for the kids. Like some of those vegetables that they can help
I was
with.
thinking next year a fun project. I really like the raised beds, and I think next year maybe add 2 more small raised beds, even if it's a container that I buy at the store, and letting each of the big girls like plant whatever. Like, what do you want to try to grow? And because it'd be a raised bed, it won't take a lot of maintenance, and they could have like a little garden bed that they were proud of and grow something that they like, carrots or whatever it is that they like, or cucumbers. And I just think that'd be a fun project for them.
Oh yeah.
It's really hard. It's hard to let them help in the garden, only because if one person gets to help, everybody wants to help, and it's crowd control, and there's not a lot of room for error. And so I feel bad as a mom that they don't help as much in the garden as I think that would benefit them. And so maybe that would be a way, because little people can't really trample on a raised bed if it's raised up. They won't accidentally just walk over it. So that's kind of something I'm thinking. So Silver Moon says some women really like the silver. I think that Sam should grow his beard, right? Grow it this week, and then we'll come back for next week's live stream, and you tell him whether it looks bad or distinguished, and we'll take a poll.
It'll just be 1 week of growth, though. It'll
But
just
you
look
grow
like...
whatever, you skip one day, and it's like...
No. It would take me maybe like 3 or 4 weeks.
We'll take a
really
poll, right?
It. Yeah.
So...
what was I going to say? I can't remember. I forgot.
I do want to clean out the goat shed and put
that
all that
needs to be
on the old garden area, and I think that let that sit over winter. I think we'll grow some huge plants next year. So.
They make dye for beards. That's true too. Clean out that goat shed is going to be a huge task, though, but it does need to be done for sure. We would have plenty of stuff for your gardens.
I think we could start a new like permaculture type
pretty much
no-till garden, just spread it out somewhere, right? The biggest problem we have though with the no-till, because like that's what I did with the little fall garden, is every animal likes to dig in it, and it's so hard to keep them out. I already lost a bunch of plants in that fall garden I worked so hard on because the cats got in there and started digging around. And I don't know, other than putting an electric fence around, which we would have to buy another charger, like I don't know how to keep them out. Everything wants to dig. So, I see these people, like, I don't know, our friend Tabitha's not watching tonight. She has this beautiful no-till garden. I mean, it's huge. How are there not animals coming in and digging in your garden?
Like, we've gone and visited some, like, Amish farms and such. And, out back at their house, they have a huge garden, and they've got animals everywhere, both like, they're domestic animals, they're cats and dogs and horses and deer and things running everywhere, and they don't have a fence around their garden at all. I'm like, how must be all of their animals not
outside
just destroy it?
It must be having like outside dogs. It just really must be like...
Yeah, but we had an outside dog, and he dug in it and rolled in it and like tore up the garden. So
Silverman says chicken wire on top of the soil plants can grow through, but keeps the cats out. Yeah, that's probably a really good idea. That's what I do with my tires when I first plant them. Is I'll put chicken wire over the top so that the cats can't get in there until the plants are big enough that they won't want to dig in there. Diane said our garden did terrible this year. We are in a severe drought in New York. Excuse me. I'm sorry to hear that, and it's really hard. I mean, there's other things too that are affected by a drought, not just your garden, but it's definitely disappointing to put a lot of work in something and then the weather does not do its job.
Don't let it discourage you.
Yeah, and next year, it's like the farming motto, next year is going to be better, right? That's why farmers live to 100, because they're like, it's got to be better next year. They got to live for the next year where it's going to be better. So,
I can't go out on this.
I know, you got to have a good one before I go out. So, anything else you want to talk about?
I don't know. That's about it.
So, Allison says, I've been canning 2 years, and I don't have a good feel for the number of jars people do. How much is too much? It's hard to stop.
Oh.
It's never too much.
300? 700?
Do you know how many jars I have? I have, like, cases in the basement.
Well, I know... Was it maybe like your second or third year canning, your goal was like 200 jars? Yeah. Is that what it was? Something like that? I remember...
I probably got 500 jars just in the pantry right now.
Right. I don't know. I think it's nice to have goals like that sometimes. Not to get maybe too carried away, but... I mean, a lot of it depends on what size your family is and how much you use that stuff.
My rule of thumb really is I don't really ever buy new jars, but if I see a really good deal, or if somebody's like, I bought these jars for my wedding and for centerpieces, I don't need them, does anybody want them? Like, yes. Like, if they're free or cheap, like, yes, I will take that, because I can always find something to put in it. So.
And the other thing, too, about canning is that it makes a real easy way to share with friends or family and stuff. If you've got some extra, or if you know somebody that needs some food, you can give them a few jars and share.
Yep.
So that's really nice too.
Soderman says I store my jars on the tops of my kitchen cabinets. That's a great use of space. Space is always at a premium for most people, especially storage space. So being clever is really
Yeah, I think it just depends on you. Some people, they'll just can, 10 or 12 for a whole year, and then you've got. Have you ever seen pictures or videos of like the Amish? They have like their basement
Just
like
lined.
lined with shelves and lined with jars. Like they probably have thousands of things canned every year. So.
Case says I have over 1,000 and literally have nowhere else to put more. I have about 6 more cases each. Yep, they just kind of like you can always find something to put in them, so might as well. We use them for everything too, like leftover containers. There are drinking cups.
Yeah, they're really multi-purpose
jars. I mean, all sorts of things. So
I don't want to.
I don't want to be a jar hoarder, but I also always want to know that I got enough for what I need.
I will say too, we've been using them for the girls. Laura found these like rubber sleeves that go around them. Those.
I'll link this below after this live stream is over if anybody's looking for something. We used the mason jars as cups, but the girls would always drop them, and I was afraid somebody was gonna break a
these
cup.
Little cups.
So I found these. So these are cozies, and then they come with some of them come with lids and straws, and some of them don't.
But if they drop them, for the most part,
bounce.
it gives it just that little extra protection. And like we've got tile floors, so it's pretty hard. But it gives that little extra protection, and we haven't broken one yet.
And it's nice because each kid has a color, and so that's their cup for the day, and they are responsible for rinsing it out. And they used to, I swear, we'd end up with 60 cups at the end of the day.
Ridiculous.
Because they would forget which cup was theirs, and so they'd get a new glass of water, and it was really frustrating. So
for the most part, we try to just do like water in these and not like milk and stuff, because you don't want it.
Well, they rinse them out, and I have a little cleaner for the straws, but we really just do water, except at breakfast they can have milk or orange juice, but then the rest of the day it's water. So.
And glass is nice because it does have rubber or whatever around it, but it's nice to have something glass and not plastic or whatever for them to drink out of. That's just kind of nice.
Yep.
You can clean it and sanitize it really, really well.
And you can put hot or cold, in a mason jar, so if they want a hot drink, tea, or whatever, cocoa, they can put it just in that jar.
Do they make them for pint jars?
They do. So I will link those specific ones, especially the ones with the lids, because I had to look kind of hard to find ones with the silicone lids.
Is there like a sippy cup lid too?
This is a sippy cup. So the straw can come out, and you can use it just like a sippy cup, or you can put the straw. And the straw is a stopper, so they can't yank it out too, which I like, so we don't lose the straws.
And there's also, I think we also have just like caps too, right?
Yeah, and there's caps without a hole, so if I'm traveling with them, I can put the cap on it tight and it won't leak or spill. It's really nice. And then you can trade it out for the sippy cup lid. I love those. You need to get some because we use them as glasses too. Or I'll pull up a link real quick. I'll get it there if you want to talk for a minute?
I'm just impressed because we talked about, we were trying to figure out a way for the girls to not use 60 cups a day because it was ridiculous to wash that many. Like you'd look in your cabinets and there weren't any cups there. You're like, what in the world? And you look down in the sink and every single cup is in the sink and they've gone through them. So we're trying to figure out a new way. And I really did think that these, if I'm being honest, we didn't buy a bunch of them because we thought they might break them really easy. Because it is glass. But that rubber's just thick enough that if they do drop it, we haven't had that issue. So we like these a lot. They've been a good purchase for us with little people, and it's nice that they have their own color, so we don't have to fight over cups. No, that's my cup. That's where I left it. Anyway, it's been nice.
Yeah, there's this. So some of them have lids and straws, and those were a little bit more expensive. I almost didn't buy them because I was like, that's a lot of money for a lid. But I mean, we've had them at least 6 months, I feel like, and no issues. None of them are broken. None of the straws have ripped, and the ones without the lids and straws were a lot cheaper. We got both sets. The older girls don't have lids. I needed enough colors for 6 kids, and I think each set comes with 4 or 5. So we had to get 2 sets because I didn't want a double color, and then everybody gets confused. So, but that has been a nice solution to not having as many dishes at the end of the day, and not having something that's breaking because they're dropping them.
It's just their reusable water cup.
So that's fun. But now if we could find plates that weren't plastic, but they couldn't break. And Corel did not work for us. They smashed those babies.
Yeah, we've tried a few different kinds of plates. Right now, for family plates, we've got just plastic ones that are kind of, But
I don't really like them.
they can't break them, so
Yeah.
that's kind of where we're at
gone through
right
so
now.
many plates. We thought about stainless steel. The only problem is if you put something hot on a stainless steel plate, the whole plate gets hot, and so then you have to like wait for the plate to cool down. So bamboo, yeah, you could do wood or bamboo plate. That's true.
That's true. That's a good
It wouldn't
idea.
be breakable.
I
don't like the plastic, and the plastic it gets so
it gets stained
and gross.
and all that
This
stuff.
looks gross,
Yeah.
but
You can burn holes through it.
I can't afford to buy new plates every year or every 4 or 5 months because they drop them all the time.
It's one of those things like, you know, you want to teach your kids to help with the dishes and help clear the table and help do this or that, but they literally were breaking a plate like every other week.
I swear, they sit down at the dinner table and they're just like windmills.
It feels like that for sure.
So,
Tizzy
yeah, I'll have to
says,
look. I never
have
even thought about
and love
bamboo.
'em. That is a good idea. People in Wisconsin don't use fences either. I did get it. The deer in Virginia come right up to my front door and eat my plants. Need to have a 7-foot fence to keep them out of my garden. I will say,
the dog does keep deer away, I feel like.
yeah, when we had our dog, like it kept all the little critters away. I don't know if it kept our outside dogs would keep rabbits away much.
But
I guess they
he
did.
was more of a problem. He would dig in the garden because, you know, you dig and it's a cold spot and he would roll around in it. And you were like, this is not what you're supposed to be doing.
I do know some of the Amish farms we've gone to do have outside dogs that are little dogs, like rat terriers. And I would assume that they're really good at keeping rabbits and possums and raccoons or whatever else would try to get into your garden. A little dog like that would chase all those little small vermin kind of things away. And probably the deer too, but
I think deer are just skittish enough. They just don't want to mess with it. So, you know what I mean? Like, not going to take a chance on that one. So.
yeah.
All right,
We'll have to go ask some Amish. How do you keep all the animals
we have
out
some
of your
connections.
garden? We'll have to go figure it out.
We have some connections.
Maybe we can find a YouTube channel or something that is run by some Amish.
You think the Amish are on YouTube?
Yeah.
I bet you could text Doug. He could probably.
I think some of them are a little sneaky sometimes and get on YouTube, even if it's not technically allowed. I think if you dig deep enough, you can find
I
some.
don't remember if it's blood meal or bone meal. One of them dogs love to dig up. So so it makes you feel better. My mother-in-law finds lots of food for me. Sometimes it feels like so much. Yes, I love to share too. Yeah, and like we all had a big family canning day. A few weeks ago, I taught some of our extended family how to can, and I was like, don't worry about the jars or anything. Just show up, and you can take stuff home. Like, it's nice when you have extra and you can just, help somebody. Because getting starting can feel overwhelming because you got to buy a canner and then trying to buy your first set of jars. You're like, gee, these are a little bit expensive. So if we can help somebody get started,
jars and rings and lids, and you got to have rings and lids every time. So, yeah. All that stuff.
So. All right, Sam's got to go study.
I do. I got to finish up, do well for this test in the morning, first thing.
I think we'll try and look. I don't have my schedule that far ahead. We should be back next week, though. Maybe.
Yep.
We enjoyed talking to you all.
Going on.
And thank you so much for coming.
Make sure and thumbs up before you leave.
If you enjoyed it, help us out a little bit with a thumbs up. We really appreciate it. So everybody have a great night. There's some stuff coming up this week. We'll see you again Wednesday, Saturday, and then live again on Monday.
We'll see y'all. Thanks for hopping in. Have a good week.
Have a good night.